Today is the auspicious day on the calendar, Vaishnava calendar. I don't know, maybe in Sydney it's different, but in New Zealand today is a very auspicious day. Is it the same here also? I don't know. Same. Huh? So today is the appearance day of Janananda. Do you have a calendar here, Vaishnava calendar? Do you have Vaishnava calendar here? Hanging on the line? Put it on the line. No, it's Sita, also Advaitacharya's consort, Sita Devi. She's not just Ramchandra, but Advaitacharya's wife is also known as Sita Devi. And it's the disappearance, as far as I know, of Madhu Pandit, Gosvami today. And it's also the day, because of course I've been in Malaysia a lot of the time, my little service, and today is the anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in Malaysia. I only found out because everyone in New Zealand has a Malaysian calendar. They don't seem to have their own. And there's one Malaysian devotee who's just distributed maybe 100 calendars around the country at least. With the computer.
Maharaj, I received an email for Sydney Vaishnava calendar. Srimati Sita Devi, consort of Lord Rama, appearance day today. Sri Madhupandita, disappearance day today. And Srimati Janava Devi, appearance day today.
I thought it was a Advaitacharya's consort. It was Lord Ramachandra. Wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Very nice. Give me a second here. What am I looking for? You have to bear with me. The system is working a little slowly today, but under par. There we go. So it'd be nice if we can hear a little bit about those wonderful persons. A little bit, not much. Any preparation there. Many of you are from Fiji, so you're Ram Mandalis. You may be very familiar with Ram Leela. I'm just what you could say, a novice. Let's see some little pastimes of Sita Devi, and let's see what we've got here. But first, we'll hear something about Janava. If I can find it. The system not working quite normally. Let's see, here we go. Janava Mata. It's appearance day of Janava today. Yeah. Appearance day of Sita Devi. And the disappearance of Madhu Pandit. Jai Om Jnana Timandasya Janananda Shalaya Chashoramritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Vishnu Sapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupedamayam Dati Swarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijanam Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padanam Savanagana Shri Vishwanam
Radhesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Well, Janananda is very significant in our disciplic succession. She is one of the prominent lady Vaishnavas, who was in the position, took the position of an initiating spiritual master. She had many male disciples also. She's not an ordinary living entity. We'll read a little bit about her. I've got some notes here. Sri Suryadas Sarakela was a resident of Shaligram. He had 5 brothers. His father's name was Sri Kamsari Mishra. His mother named Sri Kamala Devi. He received the title Sarakela, as he used to keep the accounts for the king of Gauradesh. He was an accountant. So if you're an accountant, you can have this name, Sarakela. Any accountants? Any accountants with us tonight?
Yeah.
There we go. You have now a new title, Sarakela. His 2 daughters were named Sri Vasudha and Sri Janava. Janava was the youngest. In the Gauradesh Deepika, it is stated that they are the expansions of, you may remember in Krishna Lila, the Lord Balaram, he had 2 wives. Remember those 2 wives, right? The 2 wives of Lord Balaram. Revati, quite, that's the most famous. And that's a wonderful pastime of how she became, well, she already was, but in Krishna Lila, how she became his wife. And the other one? Pardon? Very close. Very close. We just had a festival. It was called Balaram Rasa Yatra, maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks ago perhaps. And at that festival, there was a very famous incident. Lord Balaram, he returned to Vrindavan after Krishna and Balaram had appeared to be away for a long time. And Lord Balaram returned to give solace to the residents of Vrindavan. And at that time he also engaged in Rasa Lila. Lord Balaram had his own gopis. Krishna has his gopis. Balaram has his gopis. They were very young when they left Vrindavan. So when Balaram came back, he consorted with his gopis every night for 2 months. They performed Rasa Lila. And the descriptions there in Krishna, how when he was there enjoying with the gopis, his gopis, Varuna, wanting to please the Lord, made the arrangements, his daughters known as Varuni. And Varuni appeared as oozing out of the trees as a beautiful liquid, like a honey, nectar, this liquid oozing out of the trees to satisfy Lord Balaram. And Lord Balaram accepted Varuni. So of course she's in a liquid form there, but she has her personified form as a woman, as a female form. So Lord Balaram accepted Varuni as his other wife, two wives, because he got very intoxicated, as men sometimes do when they have their girlfriends or their wives with them. They sometimes get intoxicated. Maybe not with liquor, but infatuated with the beauty of their female associates. So Surjadas Sarakela, whose bodily effulgence is like the sun, is an expansion of Kakutmir, the king of Raivata. He is the father of Revati. The two lords, Gauranga and Nityananda, were very affectionate to him. Seeing that his two daughters had reached the full bloom of their youth, he began to contemplate their marriage. Thinking in this way, he fell asleep, and in his dream he saw that in a very happy mood he was presenting his two daughters to Nityananda Prabhu. Having seen such a wonderful dream, he began to float in an ocean of bliss. In the morning when he awoke, he told his dream to one Brahmin friend of his. I saw in my dream that Nityananda Prabhu is none other than Baladev. His bodily effulgence was shining in all directions, and his body was decorated with various shining ornaments. On either side of him, my two daughters appeared as Varuni and Revati. Now, if I cannot give my daughters in marriage to Nityananda Prabhu, then there will be no... There will be no peace for me. Having confided in his friend in this way, he sent him to the house of Srivas Pandit in Navadvip, because Nityananda would regularly stay in the house of Srivas Pandit. We were reading, Hansa Prabhu was reading about Lord Nityananda in the house of Srivas Pandit today. And Srivas Pandit, Lord Chaitanya even chided Srivas Pandit, why are you keeping this madman in your house? Nobody knows his caste. He's like an outcast. Why are you keeping him in your house? He's an abadut. He causes no end of trouble, no end of mischief. And Lord Chaitanya chastised him in public. Lord Nityananda was defending himself. If what you say is true, such a madman should be punished, but that's not me. But he was really like an abadut. In the house of Srivas Thakur, Srivas Thakur's wife's name is Malini, and in that house, Nityananda would treat Mother Malini like her own mother, and he was behaving like a baby. He would take all his clothes off and sit on her lap. He would appear naked in the house, and he would suck Mother Malini's breast, even though she was an old lady and her breasts had dried up. He would nonetheless feed Lord Nityananda her own breast milk. She had this motherly affection and motherly relationship with Lord Nityananda, so he was really quite a character. He was, as you know, many of you heard some stories about Nityananda, his preaching and his behavior and so on. Nobody could predict what he would do, his pastimes with Advaita Charya and so on. He was quite a transcendentalist, to say the least. Plus he's the original first expansion, the original Guru, Adi Guru, first expansion of Lord Krishna. So he appears in this amazing way to bring pleasure to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to bring pleasure to all the devotees, and to great pleasure to Mother Malini. And now of course also to Suryadas Sarakela. That Brahmin came to Navadvip very quickly and found that Nityananda Prabhu was living at Srivas Pandit's house. The Brahmin, when Srivas Thakur, when Lord Chaitanya said that, he then showed his faith in Lord Nityananda. He said, even if Nityananda, drinks liquor, goes into a wine shop, even if he marries a Muslim, he said, I will never give up my faith in Lord Nityananda. Well, Lord Chaitanya was very impressed by Srivas Thakur's understanding of who Lord Nityananda is. The Brahmin explained everything in detail to Srivas Pandit, who later at the proper time divulged all of this news to Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Nityananda, having assured the Brahmin that he would fulfill the desire of Surya Das, sent him back to Shaligram. Advaitacharya as well as Srivas Pandit were very happy to have heard this news and urged that the marriage take place as soon as possible. The Brahmin, in the meantime, having returned to Shaligram, delivered the auspicious news to Surya Das, who was overjoyed that his dream would now become true. In the village of Bogachi lived the son of Raja Harihora, Sri Krishna Das, who was a very dear devotee of Nityananda Prabhu. He offered to bear all the expenses for the wedding and to have it conducted at his home. With this in mind, he requested Nityananda Prabhu to kindly come to his house, and after bringing him there, he began to make the necessary arrangements for the wedding. Srivas Pandit, Sri Advaitacharya, Sri Chandrasekhar, Sri Murari Gupta, and many other devotees all arrived and began Harinam Sankirtan. Surya Das Pandit's brother, Sri Krishna Das, soon arrived at Bordachi, and then Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees accompanied him to Shaligram. When Surya Das saw that the devotees along with Nityananda Prabhu had arrived, in great happiness he came out to greet them, then ushered them into his house, where he offered his dandavats to Lord Nityananda. Sometimes Nityananda was considered to be Goswami, Nityananda Gosai. He was completely beyond all these designations. Surya Das fell down at the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, his eyes brimming with tears of ecstatic love. Usually it's the other way around. This is to be his future son-in-law. He caught hold of his two lotus feet and wanted to offer some prayers, but he could not express anything due to being overcome by ecstatic emotions. Lord Nityananda smiled sweetly and embraced him in great love. Surya Das was always absorbed in intense happiness. Who can understand his inner self? Seeing these loving pastimes of his brother, Gauridas lost his patience and felt great bliss within himself. Then after worshipping the two lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, he offered his two daughters in marriage to him. Thus the marriage ceremony was very auspiciously performed, and Nityananda Prabhu remained at Shaligram with his two newly wedded wives for a few days. Thereafter he came to Sri Krishna Das's house at Borgachi, where he remained for a couple of days. Next he came to Navadvip. Along with his two wives, he offered his obeisances at the feet of Shachi Mata. Shachi Ma was extremely pleased to see them, and she showed a great deal of affection to the new brides. The other Vaishnavas also began to show them great affection. Then, taking leave of Shachi Mata, Nityananda came to Advaitacharya's house in Shantipur. Sri Sita Thakurani began to float in the ocean of bliss after seeing Vasudha and Jalavadevi. Taking them in her lap, she was very affectionate to the new brides. After remaining there for a few days, Nityananda Prabhu came to Viharandat Thakur's house at Satyagram at his insistent invitation. They were all engaged in a festival of Sankirtan for a few days, after which Nityananda came to Kardaha. That's all from the Bhakti Ratnakar. After the disappearance of Sri Advaitacharya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Pandit, and various other associates of Sri Gaur Sundar, three especially empowered manifestations of the compassionate Lord Mahaprabhu, namely Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shyamananda Prabhu, continued to flood the land with Harinam Sankirtan. Sri Nityananda Prabhu's Shakti, Sri Janananda, was especially requested by these three acharyas to be present at the celebrated festival which was conducted by them at Keturi Gram, under the patronage of Narottam Thakur, Mahashoy's cousin, Raj Santosh Bhatta. Present with her were Sri Krishna Das Mishra and these all listed persons. She oversaw this great festival in Keturi Gram, which was really significant. It was organized primarily by Narottam Das Thakur and his disciples, family members and disciples. And Janava Mata was the guest of honor. She personally oversaw the whole proceeding. She cooked, she served the prasad, she installed the deities, and she unified Vaishnavism. Because after the passing or moving along of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many different branches had already sprouted, and there was very little communication in most cases. And there were some diversions from the pure path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. So one of the purposes of this great festival, Keturi Gram, which was held on the Gopurnima, the occasion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth, was to unify the devotees. And that's one of the prime purposes of the Gopurnima festival. It's not just to have a festival, which is very wonderful. It's not just to glorify Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but it's also to unify the devotees. That was the intention of Janavamana, to bring them all together for that great festival at Keturi Gram. Even at that festival, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, they also appeared. Let's see what we've got now. First she came to Panit's temple at Kalna, where she was nicely received by Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu. Here she cooked for the two lords, Nitai Gauranga, the beautiful deities there in Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu was worshipping Kalna, Nitai Gauranga, Gauridas Pandit's deities. And in the evening they had a festival of Sankirtan. When she came to Navadvip and realized that she wouldn't be able to see Sachimata anymore, she was very sad and cried. Then Sripati and Srinidhi came and took her to their house. But again she was plunged into grief due to the pangs of separation and not being able to see Srivas Pandit and Malini Devi. As Shantipur, Shri Achyutananda and Gopal tried to console her in the absence of Advaita and Sita Thakurani. Then she came by way of Kantak Nagar to Telia Budvari Gram, where Sri Govinda Kaviraj received her with all respect. The next day the party set out for Keturi. When they reached the banks of the Padma River, they found that Raj Santosh had already made arrangements for crossing the river. From the opposite bank, palanquins were waiting to take them to Keturi. After presiding over the festival of Keturi, Janava decided to go to Vrindavan. One day when she was bathing in the Yamuna, a small black hand grabbed the end of her cloth as she was getting out of the water. When she looked, however, there was no one there. Then Gopinath spoke to her, "I want to come and stay with you. When you are taking bath in the Ganga one day, I'll come and join you." After passing some days in great happiness in Sri Vrindavan Dham, Sri Janavamata set out on the path back to Gauradesh. As you may know, at Radhakund there is her Janava bike, her sitting place there, right next to Raghunath Das Goswami's Samadhi. There's also a little stairwell that goes down into Radhakund, where she would go down to take her bath. And she would stay there in Radhakund, performing her worship and bhajan. Okay, after passing some days in great happiness, she went to Gauradesh. She came to Keturi and then to Budari Gram, where she arranged the marriage of Borgungar with Sri Hemlata, daughter of Shamdas Chakravarti. After the marriage, Sri Ishwari entrusted the worship of Shamsundar. As she was bathing in the Ganges one day, something touched her body in the water. Then she lifted that object out of the water and beheld the enchanting form of Sri Gopinathji, while tears of love streamed from her eyes. This deity is at present being worshipped by the descendant of Ganga Devi, the daughter of Nityananda Prabhu, Jirat, Hooghly. There is a rail station at Jirat between Bandal and Kalna station. From the Jirat station one should proceed by rickshaw to Gopinath Dham. That Ganga Devi was the daughter of Nityananda by Vasudha, but she was looked after also by Janananda. Having fallen into the ocean of material existence, I am completely distraught and filled with anxiety. Floating in this ocean without any refuge, I am trying to find a shore. But without any success, I am losing all hope of ever finding it. I am simply crying frantically. I can't see anyone who can get me out of this ocean of woes. Oh my dear Sri Janananda Devi, please have compassion on your servant and bless me with some of your divine qualities. Please extend me the rope of your mercy and alleviate this intense pain that I am experiencing. I have taken shelter of the boat of your lotus feet, and I have full faith that you can carry me across the ocean. You are the divine energy of Lord Nityananda and the bestower of Krishna Bhakti. Please bless me at your feet, which can bestow all one's desires. You have already delivered so many despicable creatures. Now today here is one more destitute and hateful wretch. Come to your lotus feet. And that is actually by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That was his little bit of writing in the Kalyana Kalpataru. We'll just go back a little bit. I'll just read it a little bit. If there's anything else. Ma Janava is an affectionate name given by the devotees. Wherever she went, the Gaur Bhaktas happily greeted her and served her. She was known as Nityananda Swarupini. Nice name, Nityananda Swarupini. She delivered many atheists and sinners. She overflowed with prema bhakti. Her preaching was full of compassion. It is said that she left this world by entering the deity of Gopinath in Vrindavan. In Brajadam, she serves a Revati also, but she also serves as Ananga Manjari. Sri Janava Mata Ki Jai. And we'll see if we have anything. Give me a second, please. On Madhu Pandit or not. Madhu Pandit. Brajanava, Lord Krishna's great-grandson, installed the original Gopinath deity in Vrindavan over 5,000 years ago. About 500 years ago, Paramananda Bhattacharya discovered the deity in the earth at Vamsivat, on the banks of the Yamuna. Madhu Pandit Gosvami, a disciple of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, worshipped the Gopinath deity. Bhakti Ratnakar says that Sri Gopinathji, who is an ocean of mercy, forever sports along the enchanting bank of the Yamuna at Vamsivat. His bodily luster steals the mind of whoever sees him. When the soothing sweetness of Gopinathji's charming form enters the heart, it immediately extinguishes the burning fire of material existence. Now the original Gopinath deity stays in Jaipur, Rajasthan. Madhu Pandit Goswami blessed Srinivasacharya with Gopinath's garland before Srinivas, Narottam and Shamananda took the bullock cart of Goswami Granthas from Vrindavan. In Goloka Vrindavan, Madhu Pandit serves as Mandali Sakhi in a group of Champaka Lata Sakhi. We just gave that name to one devotee yesterday, Mandali Sakhi Devi. The Samadhi of Madhu Pandit Goswami is on the right side of the entrance within the compound of the Radha Gopinath temple in Vrindavan. And if you go to the Radha Gopinath temple, you walk around the side there, there's this rather unusual looking Samadhi there of Madhu Pandit. Very wonderful place. There's no mention of Madhu Pandit in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's only mentioned the Bhakti Ratnakara. Gopinath Ji manifested himself before him. O Srinivas, what more can I say? The Lord reveals himself to his pure devotee, who then preaches his glories to the world. Who can describe their incomprehensible activities by which the Lord becomes subservient to love? Thus did Sri Vijendra Kumar reveal himself to Paramananda Bhattacharya and Srimati Pandit, who is the abode of many wonderful qualities. Thus, as Sri Gopinath Ji is an ocean of mercy, Hare Krishna. Not much is said, nobody wrote about it. A little bit of the Bhakti Ratnakara, that's all. There's unlimited devotees of Lord Chaitanya. They're all his internal associates. They come to perform pastimes with the Lord, just like the gopis. They're the eternal associates, and there are those who are entering into that eternal association. So the eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, those same personalities in Krishna Lila. Many of them also appeared as the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, as we're hearing here, two of them. And same thing when they expand, when the Lord expands in the various forms, his internal potencies, they are devotees, they're in the mood of devotees, but they're actually opulences and potencies of the Lord. And they appear manifest in various forms to bring various pleasure to the Lord. And his various opulences are manifested to bring him various pleasures. And when he personally wants to perform pastimes, they also are manifested in various personified forms. No matter what expansion is, just as we're hearing about Janava, Lord Brahma's expansion of Krishna, Janava, but they're all expansions of the internal potency all coming from Srimati Radhika. And similarly, when Krishna expands as Radharani, his potencies, his expansions, etc. also expand. Those which are relevant, they may not be complete. You know, Krishna is complete in all opulences. His different expansions may be complete in certain percentage. The Lord Ramchandra is practically speaking, almost completely full of opulences, but it's devoid of the Madhurya Ras, as such, well, let's say the Parakiya Ras. The Madhurya Ras is there, but the Parakiya Ras, that intrigue which only Krishna himself performs, that pastime of loving relationships with many damsels who are not officially his wives, so to speak. Whereas in Ramlila, of course, Ram had made that vow that he was only taking one wife, Ekapatni, and Sita Devi, the daughter of Maharaj Janak. A very wonderful pastime, how, well, it's a long story, really, isn't it? There's one story of which involves one time when Ravana was travelling over the Himalayas, and he looked down and he saw this beautiful damsel performing austerities somewhere in the Himalayas, and he thought she would make a nice, nice good partner, consort. So he went down with that in mind. He tried to woo her. She was meditating, and she had meditated to get Lord Vishnu as her wife, actually, as her husband. And so he was thinking, no. So he wanted to try to get her as his partner, but she refused. So he tried to forcibly pull her, and as he grabbed her hair and with her arm, because she's not the only person, the name was made of the teeth. Pardon? What was that? Oh, yeah. her arm, with her arm turned to like a sword, and she chopped off her hair. And he was left holding her hair. And she just disappeared. And he was left holding her hair. But she cursed him that in the future I will be the cause of your death. So then, she then manifested like a Mayak form. And Ravana took that Mayak form back to Sri Lanka, but he was scared stiff about this situation. And he wouldn't go anywhere from that. Anyway, she then, I can't remember all the details, you can read it in your mind maybe. She then appeared again in the earth. As Maharaj Janak was ploughing the earth, of course, and he found that golden casket there with Sita Devi there. And then he accepted her as a daughter. And later on, of course, she was married by Lord Ramchandra. And the pastimes of Ramayan unfold. How they were exiled to the forest for so many years, and all the wonderful pastimes there in Panchavati, and then the Karanya forest in Chitrakoot and so many places. It's actually described when we were in Chitrakoot that there they stayed a long time, much longer than in Dandakaranya. It was only about a year or two. But in Chitrakoot they were there for many years, maybe 11 years or more. And they had, there the pastimes were almost unmentioned. It said they had their very internal, confidential pastimes. They like very intimate pastimes. And the pastimes in Panchavati and Dandakaranya are more famous, because that's where Ravana stole away Sita Devi. There's wonderful pastimes there. They're very interesting. And when Suparnaka came, the sister of Ravana, and she saw Ram, and she was so infatuated by his beauty, even though he was a human form. She was Rakshasi. She was infatuated, and she wanted to have him as her husband. So she really wanted that. But of course Raman made this vow of Ekapatni, amongst other reasons. And that whole pastime, playing around with her between Ram, Lakshman and Ram. And how Lakshman cut off her nose, ears, or whatever. And she went screaming and screaming back to her brother's car and Dusar. And then that big battle took place. Then later, she went back to Lanka and told Ravana everything that happened, and how she felt that Sita, she mentioned at the time, of course, that Sita was the cause of the problem, because that puny little girl was getting in the way of her relationship with Ram. And then she relayed that to Ravana, because he became quite interested in this beautiful, beautiful woman. So he went off there to Dandakaranya with the intention of obtaining her for himself, and at long past then, how short at least, how he asked Maricha to take the form of a golden deer. Maricha wasn't very keen on the idea, because he knew already he had a confrontation with Ram and Vishwamitra. Muni had taken Ram and Lakshman with him to get rid of those demons who were pestering the yajna arena. And one of them was Maricha. Ram didn't kill Maricha, he sent him 80 miles or 80 yojans or something out into the ocean. But he didn't kill him. So Maricha knew quite well that this Ram was no ordinary human, and he wasn't keen on the idea. So Ravana said, "You have two choices." He said, "I'm going to die if I do this. Ram will kill me." And he said, "Well, you have two choices. You either die at my hand or you die at Ram's hand." So he said, "I'd rather die at Ram's hand than die at your hand." So he agreed. And he took that form, and as you know, then there in the cottage in Panchavati that there was where Sita became captivated by that beautiful golden spotted deer, and she wanted Ram to please bring that deer for me as a pet. Ram knew there was something funny going on, but still she absolutely insisted. So Ram said, all right, but he told Lakshman, you'd stay here at all costs. He's not a rat, so they say in English. And he told Lakshman, you stay here, please. Keep guard of Sita Devi, don't leave at any cost. I fear danger. I believe this is the business of the Rakshasas somewhere. And Ram went deeper and deeper into the jungles, following that golden deer, deeper and deeper, and eventually so deep into the jungle that Ram couldn't realize that the deer was appearing and disappearing. The mystic, he's a mystic rage. And then Ram realized this is no deer, this is a demon. So he took his bow and shot the arrow at the deer. And as the deer was about to die, the deer cried out. It was a mystic, so he cried out exactly imitating Ram's voice. Lakshman, Lakshman, help, help. In such a way that the sound went right back to the cottage of Sita. When she heard that, she said, Lakshman, did you hear that? My Ram, he's in trouble. You must go immediately. Lakshman wouldn't go. He said, no, this is a trick of the demons. Lakshman, how can you say like that? Now I know your deceitful nature. All along you've been waiting for this chance to enjoy me, isn't it? She insulted him in really cutting words. Lakshman could hardly bear it, but he had to go, he couldn't take it. But first, before he left, he drew a circle of fire. He said, whatever you do, don't step outside of this circle which I'm drawing. So Sita was there in the cottage, and Lakshman had also left. And then Ravana came across him. Oh, dear maiden, I'm a poor mendicant. I'm starving. I'm dying of thirst. Please satisfy me. Naturally, being a Sita Devi wanted to give something to this mendicant, but she was hesitant. The mendicant tried to come forward when she was still there. He couldn't cross it, like fire would come at his fire. Didn't know what was going on. And then she said, oh, I'm so sick and tired. Please bring it to me. And she did. She stepped over the line. Like sometimes we step over the line too and get into trouble. Isn't it? It happens to all of us sometimes. We go beyond the mark and we get kidnapped by Ravana in various ways. So then he grabbed her, throwing off his cloak. I am Ravana. Throwing her into his chariot, and of course Jatayu, that great battle was there. And then later on Sita Devi, as they were flying over Kishkinda, threw down some of her jewels and things, anklets and something. And then for 1 year, Ravana kept her in the Ashoka forest in Lanka, trying to convince her to, let's say, unite with him, but she refused. He said, I'll give you 1 year. If after 1 year you don't agree, I'll eat you for breakfast. So she was desperately waiting for Ram. She was tortured by Rakshasas the whole time. And after, of course, a long pastime, eventually with the help of, the monkeys, Sugriva, Hanuman and Co, the bears and so on, the great battle of Lanka was fought. Now it's interesting there, I was just mentioning that we were just hearing about Kubja in Krishna Lila. Suparnika became Kubja in Krishna Lila because she wanted to have Krishna as her husband. So when the battle was about to be fought, she left Lanka. She didn't want to stay. She was still in love with Ram. She couldn't stand to see this battle. She left, went to the Himalayas and performed meditation, austerities, to get Ram as her husband. And so he fulfilled her desire. She came back as an ugly Trivika or Kubja, hunchback. But Krishna goes straighten her out and fulfill all her desires. So she's not a pure wife, but she's a wife in that kind of mid-stage. Interesting. Anyway, back to Sita Devi when she was there in the Ashoka. Of course, Hanuman had already come there. He jumped over the ocean and came into the grove and assured Sita Devi not to fear that we're on the way. Took the ring or whatever it was of Sita Devi back to Ram to assure that he had actually met Sita Devi and she's still alive. So when the great battle was finished and Ram and the army of monkeys were victorious, and then Hanuman was brought Sita Devi to Ram. Ram refused to accept her, and to the shock and horror of all monkeys. And even Bibhishan, the faithful Rakshasas, were also shocked that after all this time he's fought and killed billions and billions and billions of people have died, and now he's not accepting his wife back. And they were shocked. Because Ram was teaching a lesson. And of course, with public opinion being what it is, sometimes people criticize, even you try to do the best thing. So he wouldn't accept it. Then who was it? Was it Lord Brahma or somebody? Anyway, intervened and I said, all right then, if she can prove her purity, her chastity, then I will accept her. If she can enter into the fire and come out unscathed, then I will accept her back. So she did. She was behaving also in quite a, I can say, devastated mood naturally, after all this suffering, and now she has to go through this ordeal. But she did, anyway, just somehow or another to prove her chastity. She entered into the fire, and she came out the other side, unscathed. Of course, that brought great cheer to everybody. What actually happened when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India on his tour of South India, he came across this one Ramdas, this one devotee of Lord Ramchandra, who was fasting and was crying and crying. He said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Because Sita Devi, the goddess of fortune, was stolen by that rascal Ravana. He touched her." So Lord Chaitanya didn't say anything, but later on he came back, he found this passage from the Kurma Purana, which actually stated that Ravana did not touch Sita Devi at all. He cannot touch her. She's the internal potency. What happened was that Sita Devi never left that circle of fire. It was a Mayic form. Let's say a material form of Sita Devi, like a reflection. Looks just the same, behaves the same, but it's not the actual original Sita that Ravana kidnapped. These are uppercut pastimes. The same thing with Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He doesn't leave Vrindavan. It's an expansion form, and Vasudeva Krishna leaves Vrindavan. Same thing with Brahma. He can't touch the coward boys and the calves. He didn't take them. They were Mayic forms. The original ones, they were under the protection of Yoga Maya. They didn't even notice the year passed by. They're Mayic forms. So similarly with Sita Devi, it was a Maya Sita that Ravana kidnapped. But anyway, it's the past, the prakat, or the manifest pastimes, that's how people see it. So then back to Ayodhya they did go, and the coronation, and everything took place, and everything was la-di-da, until, of course, the time came upon. Oh, one thing was there interesting. Hanuman said to Sita Devi before they left the Ashoka, he bought her from the Ashoka Grove, and he said to her when he went to bring her, he said, "All these Rakshasas who've tortured you for this whole year, please give me permission to punish them severely and to basically kill them." She said, "No." I said, "Why not?" She said, "Whoever they are residing in my abode." And she gave a very nice example. She said, just like one time there was a bear living in a tree, and there was a hunter being chased by a tiger. the hunter was running for his life and managed just to grab the branch of the tree and pull himself up before the tiger got him. So he was up there in the tree, and then the tiger looked and saw there was a bear sleeping, hanging on the branch above. So the tiger said, "Hunter, you see that bear up there? That bear will kill you if it wakes up. But I assure you, if you push that bear out of the tree, then I will not touch you because I can eat the bear." The hunter thought that was a good proposal. So he sneaked up the branch and pushed the bear off the branch. The bear fell off the branch, but as it was falling, it caught the last branch just before it was about to hit the ground and pulled itself back. Tiger, oh God. You know, towers like monkeys when they pinch your glasses, you know, that's nothing. Then they throw them down and they're broken and smashed anyway. You know. God, you just gave me a bunch of bananas. All for nothing. You paid 50 rupees to the guy selling bananas. Nice going. Or more, 200 rupees more like. Anyway, he pushed the bear down. The tiger was very clever. "Bear, you don't know what just happened. That hunter tried to push you out of the tree to your death. Immediately you should push him out of the tree." The bear said, "How can I do that? He's living in my tree. He's my guest." So Sita Devi said that, gave that as an example. When someone's in our home, you can't do that. Anyway, that was her example. So she had compassion upon them. She said they were just acting under the instruction of Ravana, they were innocent. So after the coronation, everything, years went by, all was nice and good and everything, whatever. Until, of course, that day when that washerman, whose wife was unchaste, stayed out somewhere overnight. Ram, like all dutiful kings, would send out his spies to check on what was going on. He would also himself go out. So when it got to his ear that there was this incident, that this washerman had said to his wife, "You wretched woman, how dare you come back to my home? I'm not a hen-pecked man like that Ram, who accepts his wife back after she stayed in the house of another man. You don't come back, I don't want to see you." So when he heard that, realizing that some of the citizens, maybe only that citizen, were criticizing, he decided now he have to do the next thing. Although she was pregnant, he banished Sita. She didn't know what was going on. In the guise of taking her on a pleasure trip to the Ganga to see some of the sights she'd seen when they went in exile, etc. Samantha, the servant, the Lord, the chariot driver, along with Lakshman, they took Sita, crossed over the Ganga, and then basically left her there near the ashram of Valmiki Muni and departed. What an ordeal. She had no idea. She was terrified, absolutely heartbroken, devastated. You can just imagine how she must have felt. Lakshman never even looked at her. He didn't know what she looked like, it says. He only looked at her feet. He never knew what her face looked like. Anyway, there are many different stories. Sometimes it says he saw her at that point. Sometimes it says later on, when she finally decided. When Ram, there's different stories. It's a fact. There are different commentators on the Ramayana. They may be writing in different millenniums. There's so many different millenniums, different stories are there. Anyway, eventually, after the children were born, of course, and Lavam Kush, and they were reciting in the ashram of Valmiki, the Ramayana. Valmiki taught them the Ramayana. And then they came to the court of Ayodhya and recited it there in front of Rama, all the residents of Ayodhya, and Ramachandra was absolutely stunned hearing this, and eventually realized these were his own children. And eventually he called Sita back. Some stories say no, some say yes. So anyway, this story is a nice story, because he went to Sita Pahi one time which is said to be the place where Sita Devi left this world. And there are different stories, you probably got different stories also, never mind. It's a nice story, Lokanath Maharaj told us. And there at that place, and then Lord Ramchandra wanted Sita to come back to Ayodhya. So he sent Lakshman, he didn't even go himself. At that point, Sita Devi said, this is too much. So, she said that Rama, even he's not even coming himself. He's sending his brother. He said, this life is simply for suffering. There's nothing else, just suffering. One misery after another. So she decided she would enter back into the earth. That was it. And it said the earth opened up. She entered in. That moment Lakshman saw her for the first time. He tried to grab her hair, but it was too late. And she was gone back into the earth and returned in the shelter of the Mother Earth. One of her expansions, Brahma Devi. It's just an expansion of hers. And that's how one of the stories how she lived. So her life is a glorious life with many examples and lessons to learn, teaching so many things for all of us to maybe meditate on, learn something from. There's so much more that could be said. This day is also the day when Srila Prabhupada arrived in Malaysia in 1971 on May the 5th, I can't remember, 1971, whatever it is, 44 years ago, this year. And Prabhupada, it's an interesting story how he arrived. A great difficulty he came, and this is actually very significant to Sydney. You may know why. I'm sorry, my voice is so very, very weak. It is very significant to Sydney. Prabhupada was planning to come, I'll start the story, I'll kick it off in the bowl. When the temple here was, I don't know where it was, in Surrey Hills or on what was that place, on that bay, what was that bay in the temple, I can't remember. Somewhere, Glebe, maybe in Glebe. There's another place they were before that, maybe in Glebe. One Indian man came and to visit this small house. He said, "Oh, I will send you Radha Krishna." Haribol. They were really not in a position for Radha Krishna. There was hardly anyone was initiated. What the speaker Brahmin initiated didn't know what Radha Krishna was. They didn't have deities at that time. Anyway, the man did send Radha Krishna. But the temple had changed a few times by then, and there was no forwarding address. They sat in the docks in Sydney, and after some time the shipping company contacted the man in India, and they sent him back to India. It so happened that Prabhupada met that man, and he told the story to Prabhupada, so Prabhupada gave him to Prabhupada. And they were worshipped at the Cross Maiden Pandal Festival in Bombay, a huge festival for many days. And then Prabhupada was planning to go to Sydney in 71. And he was trying to get a visa. There was at that time the preaching in Malaysia just started off and things were really moving fast. And one lady, she was offering some land, Kamala Devi. She was offering some land for us for a temple. She said she was. He wouldn't really, but that was the kind of the hook. So Prabhupada decided, he had a few disciples there now, that he would go to Malaysia on the way. But it was very difficult getting the visas for Australia and Malaysia and everything. He was delayed and delayed and delayed. But eventually he managed to come. He was late. He arrived there in Malaysia, and he was supposed to go straight from the airport to a place called Tilakansan, now called Tilakinta, in a helicopter. And it was all advertised in the newspapers, and the article in the newspapers, Swamiji flying from KL to Tilakansan in a helicopter, and quite a thing to do in those days. And it was all over the place, the advertisements were there, but Prabhupada was delayed, and he didn't do that. He arrived in Kuala Lumpur, and he went to stay in the house of, what was his name now? A very rich man, a businessman there. and it was too late to go to Tilakansan that day, so somebody else did the program. But they still put the article in the paper that he flew there in a helicopter, but he didn't. He went there the next day, just for a short visit, on his way to another city, but he didn't actually go, so he stayed there in that house. Tan Kishu, his name was, he? Owner of a big cloth, big shop, like a wholesale merchant, cloth merchant, and he had in his house, Prabhupada commented, so many statues. He had every form of Krishna and the gods and everything. It was like a museum, like a museum. When Prabhupada was in Malaysia, it's interesting, he didn't eat any cooked food whatsoever, even if his own disciples cooked it. He said, because everywhere we go, their house is a house of a meat eater. He wouldn't say that outright, but he told his disciples, I will not eat even what you cook here. He just took uncooked food. Until he got to this house of, what's the name now? In Penang, I've forgotten the name. But this house was really nice. They were from Mathura. This family were from Mathura, lifelong Vaishnavas. And there, Prabhupada introduced something very interesting, the story of the kachori. They were expert at cooking kachoris. And as you may know, Prabhupada loved kachoris. Up to that point, no one had really been perhaps not trained properly in making kachoris in ISKCON. But there he ate kachoris, very happily. Urdal kachoris, Radha Balba kachoris, they call them. Anyway, he told his boys they should learn how to make these kachoris. And from there, the boys started to learn how to make these kachoris. Tosha knows how to make them with his eyes closed. He's from Bengal. But anyway, after 5 days there in Malaysia, Prabhupada then went on the plane, and they were carrying Radha Gopinath. They were taking them as a great ordeal, carrying them on the plane. I think one day he was checked in and one day he was hand carried on the plane. Radha Gopinath came here to Sydney. They came via Malaysia, so they arrived on Malaysia this day. And soon, that means in a few days' time, a few weeks or so, 10 days' time, maybe the installation of Radha Gopinath must be there, I guess. Anyway, that's what it says on the Malaysian calendar. Today is that date. It actually was May. Maybe they're celebrating on the actual Western date here, I don't know. But as they celebrate in Malaysia on the Vedic day, which is today. It was a week or 10 days earlier. That's about all I can remember for now on those topics. I would like to say one more thing, that this year is the 50th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance. And I don't know when I'm going to get the chance, because in New Zealand and also in Brisbane, I can't remember if we did it in Govardhan. Did we do it in Govardhan? Also, we did that presentation. Yeah. On this event. I'm still a work in progress. I haven't had time to do much else since the beginning of it. But it's a presentation on Srila Prabhupada's mission, mood, and his movement, and you could say the whole essence of the philosophy of our movement is based upon this, let's say, Srila Prabhupada's mood. Everything we do rests upon that, and how much this movement really is, and we all know it theoretically, but just to try to understand it a little bit more realistically, how much we all depend upon Srila Prabhupada. None of us would be here today, that's for sure. There will be no temples in Sydney, not ISKCON, pure Krishna temples, that's for sure. There will be no books, there will be nothing like that. No schools, no prasadam distribution, nothing, no initiations. None of these things would be there if it wasn't for Srila Prabhupada making that journey to America in 1965, 50 years ago this year. And right now, at this time, Prabhupada was preparing to make that great journey, trying to get his visas, his passports, his P forms, his ticket, and everything like that. At this time, 50 years ago, Prabhupada was struggling alone. absolutely alone. I don't know when we can make that presentation. I'd like to do it. I don't know when. Just somehow or another. Saturday evening? Certainly, I don't know where we are on Saturday evening.
We're supposed to have a class in the temple.
If we are or where we are.
The schedule says class in the temple on Saturday evening.
Hello?
Yeah, Saturday evening.
Of course, not everybody can come, but others will come, and some, maybe if it's advertised, maybe you can have it.
Yeah, we should.
I will give you the title.
We should.
Well, I'm not supposed to blow my own trumpet, but I think it's, luckily I don't have one. But it's basically, this is a presentation for us to enter deeper into Prabhupada's association. He's the founder of Acharya. Maybe you've seen that presentation. The founder of Acharya by Sareshwara and others too. And there's another one coming this year. Maybe you're familiar with that one. That's by Janananda, the Acharya. And a new one coming out this year. If you can support it, please do. It's going to be, maybe some of you saw a preview of that in Mayapur this year. Quite amazing. Quite amazing. The more we can understand that the living force of our movement is the Siksha coming through Srila Prabhupada. Others may pass it on, but you have to realize and understand that the unity of this movement depends upon our connection with our founder Acharya, with the Siksha Guru of this movement. Otherwise, there is a danger of cultism, of groupism, and this thing and that thing. You know, trying to pull people this way and that way, and missing the point. Just mechanically formalizing the whole thing. It's not that, just going through some ritualistic mechanics. It's actually understanding that we have a relationship with Prabhupada and making it our life and soul. This is a Siksha movement, primarily Siksha. It is the living force in our movement. You have to get, if we don't have a relationship, that was interesting. Remember last year at New Govardhan, I don't know if any of you were with me, but we gave initiation to this one devotee, Kinchana Krishna Prabhu. And we were just talking about this relationships and everything. He was saying that, he said, well, it just came out of his mouth, I don't know if he really meditated on it, but he said, I really think we have to develop this relationship with Prabhupada and Krishna, because you never know what goes on, with others. You develop this strong relationship, and all of a sudden some unexpected disaster takes place. And it's happened to some of you in this room. I know what it's like, but I personally experienced that in the same way, but I've had to live through it with hundreds, if not thousands of devotees. Unless we strengthen our relationship with Prabhupada, the movement is in, I say, not in a very strong, not such a strong situation. Very important. By reading his books, hearing his lectures, you can read books of dozens of devotees, no doubt. Even they wouldn't be writing books if Prabhupada hadn't come on the Jagadika. They'd be writing about some mundane rubbish, if they were writing at all. It's important, because we read all these things, and maybe some of the books we read are not even bona fide. They are. There's some books on the book table. I've seen them in the book. I don't know what the name of it, but Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur was told Bhakti-Siddhanta Maharaj to burn them all. He said, no one's qualified to read this. Only you can keep one copy and one other copy if anyone becomes qualified in the future. Those are reading all sorts of things. And we're not even following the four regulated principles half the time. Not to speak of chanting 16 rounds. Get to the basics. And if we all focus more on reading Prabhupada's books and listening to his lectures, we'll all be more on the same page. One guru has this idea, one guru has that idea, this thing, that thing. And maybe they don't have different ideas, but we take that out, which let's say, fits our idea. We choose a guru who says what we like to hear. It often happens like that. This helps us to become a little bit more center-focused. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. You know what the time is, I don't see the clock.
It's 10 to 8.
10 to 8.
10 to 8, we'll have a little kirtan at 8 o'clock precisely. As you may have noticed, I'm a little bit tired and a little bit under the weather. And we hope to see you at the weekend or before, I don't know exactly where, when and how. So, thank you for coming, and if it's the only time we're going to get together, I apologize for, any of it disappointing or anything, but Hare Krishna. Fasting. Can't eat this. Am I supposed to eat all of this? Really, I have no problem in my stomach if I eat all of this. There won't be one left. Especially if I eat the plastic. Well, it looks like I've got some, but I want to sing some kirtan. This is not fine. I really got this stuff. So what's all this? Where's this coming from? I wanted to get rid of mine, please. You gave me 4 packets. I wear my bag down by like no end of business. I'm going to pay overweight. I weigh a heck of a lot, Each one of these is half a kilo. Who is it? Where's Janananda? He gave me 4 packets. What did I do with them? I gave one away to Morton and one Dunedin. Maybe I'll give them away. Okay, cartels. Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Janavama ki jai, Shri Sita Devi ki jai, Shri Pandit ki jai, O Premanandi. Prabhupada's 50th anniversary of his arrival in the United States of America, USA. Unlimited sinful activities. And UK is Ugra Karma. Still trying to work one out for NZ.
Janananda Maharaj ki
Another little thing I'd just like to mention, now, of course, time, place and circumstance. But in general, before we chant Hare Krishna, there's a process of approaching the Lord. The name is Krishna. It's not a song we sing to entertain or feel good. It's actually our worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we worship the Lord, at this stage at least, by trying to hear the sound and chant the name. But in order to approach the Lord, there's a process. It's called going through Guru Garanga. It's been taught by Srila Prabhupada, by our acharyas. But first we approach Guru, who represents Nityananda, then Garanga. Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that before chanting Hare Krishna, you must chant the Panchatattva mantra. Prabhupada didn't say that we had to chant his mantra, but it was always done during his presence. It was very, very rare. I never remember an experience of it, but probably did, that the Buddha didn't chant Prabhupada's pranams first, and then the Panchatattva mantra, then the Hare Krishna mantra. We've got to go through this system. Getting the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of the Panchatattva, then we can approach Krishna, Radha and Krishna. My mantra is Radha Krishna. Not easy to approach Radha Krishna, it's not as cheap as that. We were just reading just this afternoon how Das Thakur was saying that the Maha Mantra, the holy names, Hare Krishna, is the greatest treasure in the Lord's treasure house. Is the holy name. To enter into that is a very confidential thing. We have to go through the Lord confidential representative and his confidential form of good Lord Chaitanya in order to actually get in or enter into that treasure house of the holy name. If you try to jump over it, it's not the right. Sometimes in Kirtan Mela, that appears to be the case, but actually it's supposed to be at least at the beginning of the Mela they chant the Prabhupada's pranams and the Panchatattva mantra. The problem is the Buddhists come in the middle and see it, and we think that's the norm. And now almost everywhere I see the Buddhists just go straight into Hare Krishna. That's to say, in time and circumstances, sometimes in public performance, that may be the case. Amongst the devotees, we should always practice this humility, do not abuse any shame. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Astatya Ekatarine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vashata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Prasadam here. And there's also stickers for your car or your window, whichever you like, something like that. It's one of those which you take this off the front so it sticks on like that. You can see through the window, it won't get wet. You can put it on the inside of the car. The ones on the outside, they get wet and ruined. Plus the sun will still get it, what to do. Put it on the shady side of the car. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. They were all the stickles.